The only first step I took was to hire a PI to track her movements for 3 weeks, but we didn't get any evidence. I did it to confront her with proof so she couldn't escape. We live in a fault state. I haven't talked to a lawyer yet because I don't know any good divorce lawyers in my area, and I don't have any solid evidence. I haven't informed my parents because they're going through a really bad time right now, and I don't want to add more burden on them. I haven't talked to my friends because I don't want to bother them. I don't know why I didn't share, I guess I like to bottle things up. The only reliable friend I have right now is a bottle of whiskey and a few packs of cigarettes. D-Day, was it just a coincidence, luck, or maybe divine intervention? That afternoon, I was supposed to board a flight to visit my mom, who was sick with stage 4 breast cancer, in a different state. But my flight was delayed, then cancelled, and they booked me on a different flight in the evening. However, I rescheduled my flight to the morning because I didn't want my dad to wait for long hours at the airport and have him go back and forth driving with bad eyesight at night just to pick me up. So I called him to let him know of the situation so he could go back home before it got dark. I got home that evening, and my wife wasn't there. It didn't bother me. I was used to her doing a lot of overtime, and it wasn't enough to raise any suspicion at that time because I'd been to her workplace before to pick her up when her car broke down. Sometimes, I'd go there after I finished my shift and wait for an hour or two, or just come back after they finished, as they'd been pretty busy. I admit I was pretty gullible at that time. But that night was different, something was pushing me to go to her workplace. I guess my gut feeling came from several unanswered calls I made to her, which didn't sit well with me while I was waiting at home. As I was slowly drawing near, I passed by someone who looked exactly like my wife, kissing another man just outside a restaurant 2 blocks away from her workplace. I wasn't sure if it was her. I was in full denial, thinking maybe I was only seeing things. Were my eyes playing tricks on me? Did I see it wrong? Nah, it's too dark, that's not her. She couldn't do that to me. I just mistook someone else for her. Back then, my mind was a mess because of the bad things happening in my life, mainly problems with work and family. My mental state was not in good shape, and problems with my wife were the last thing I wanted to deal with because she was my only source of solace. I wasn't mentally prepared for the storm of emotions, but deep down, I knew something bad was going to happen. So, I took a U-turn and parked my car on the opposite side of the road where they couldn't see me. To my amazement and shock, it was her. They talked a bit after the kiss, laughing, hugging, and kissing again before she got inside her car and drove away. He walked back inside the establishment. They were just like 2 lovebirds, a couple in love. And mind you, it wasn't just a peck on the cheek saying goodbye after a date, it was a long, passionate, full-on French kiss, complete with groping. I was stuck there, frozen in place, when a sudden realization hit me like a freight train: my marriage is dead. What I saw was gut-wrenching. Every action they took was like a dagger to my heart. Sadness and anger filled me as I cried on the steering wheel. I recognized the man. He was a coworker of hers, a subordinate. I'd seen him a few times before, and she had also mentioned him during our conversations, but it didn't bother me because I fully trusted her and didn't mind any of it. Again, gullible. Eventually, I got home. She was shocked to see me and asked jokingly, "Oh honey, you're home early?" I replied, "Yeah, I got back a few hours ago. I went out to unwind with some beers. My flight got cancelled and rescheduled for early in the morning, so I need to sleep, my head hurts," as an excuse to avoid her. In the following weeks, I was indifferent. She remained the same loving, caring wife, but her approach became more aggressive, like her libido had multiplied 100 times, and she got all touchy and more eager for intimacy, very unnatural behavior for her. I was disgusted, but I needed to endure it. During our marriage, intimacy was great, about 4 times a week before D-Day. She noticed my sudden change in attitude, but I just brushed it off, saying it was due to work being so hectic and my mother's illness weighing me down pretty hard. I think she already noticed that I was onto her, which is why she doubled down, or maybe not, because she knows my dire situation with my mother right now. Last week, I used the excuse of being sick, but I can't keep the charade going for long. I want to get out of this marriage. Is she a pro at hiding her infidelity? I think she is. We couldn't find any dirt on her. I checked her phone, her car, and our security cameras, but there was nothing. I don't want any comforting words or advice on how to move on. I've already dealt with my emotions and come to terms with it. I just want to know my options for the divorce. This is the first time my marriage has been obliterated, so I'm quite the newbie here, no pun intended.